Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being with us. House lawmakers voted to renew the FISA spy program, as we, feared they would. Also known as the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, it gives the U.S. government the power to spy on non-Americans outside the country without a warrant and to spy on us, period. You may not be greatly surprised to hear that the Biden administration is filled with venal, shameless hypocrites. Axios today reported that the Biden administration used campaign funds to provide for Biden's legal expenses related to special counsel Robert Hur's classified documents cover-up investigation, mostly, which Biden's blatant abuses were dominant in the discussion. And in so doing, Hur, by the way, committed unethical and illegal acts himself. You know, as does every American following Joe Biden and his outrages, that Biden is dead to rights, guilty of classified document abuses. Far from being a, quote, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, end quote, as Robert Hur described him, he is a vicious and corrupt serial liar who is nothing more than a puppet to his Marxist Dem masters. Here is New York Representative Elise Stefanik grilling the Weasley FBI director, Chris Wray, who runs a weaponized agency. Watch this.
Do you believe Joe Biden mishandled classified information?
I'm not going to discuss the report. That's the special counsel's report, and I'd refer to.
In your opinion as director of the FBI, do you believe he mishandled classified information?
Again, I'm just going to refer to the report, and the special counsel can speak for himself on his report.
Are you aware, and this is breaking news right now, are you aware that there's an audio recording of Joe Biden saying to his ghostwriter in February of 2016, quote, "I just found all the classified stuff downstairs," end quote? Are you aware of that audio recording?
I would just respectfully refer you to the special counsel.
No, I'm asking you, are you aware as director of the FBI? You're either aware or you're not.
I'm aware. Am I aware of what now?
Whether the audio exists of Joe Biden saying in February 2017, quote, "I just found all the classified stuff downstairs," end quote, to his ghostwriter.
Again, I'm just going to refer to the special counsel and his testimony and his report.
It sounds like you might be aware of it then.
I'd like all of us to think about something. When is the last time you heard Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, give any member of any of the oversight committees a direct and truthful answer to any question they ask? Just one. I can't think of a single question that he answered forthrightly, and I don't understand why he remains, I do understand why he remains the director of the FBI. I don't understand why he should remain the director of the FBI. And there you have it. President Biden knew he had classified documents, as Elise Stefanik pointed out. He knew that he had classified documents sprawled all over his garage. And he knew he was exploiting the secret information in them for his personal gain, sharing that classified information with unauthorized persons, including his ghostwriter, all the while lacking the legal basis provided by the Presidential Records Act. He had obtained those records, not as president. Even the foul, corrupt FBI, the Department of Justice, and the D.C. judges know they should forthwith dismiss President Trump's case immediately. The Marxist Dems, operating so far outside the bounds of anything approaching the law, as the DOJ leads a selective and vindictive prosecution against former President Trump and gives President Biden a sweetheart adios, all clear and good for you, because you are the Marxist Dem puppet that they love so dearly. All of this for the clear and detestable purpose of committing election interference and blocking President Trump's rightful return to the White House. Now, speaking of operating outside the bounds of the law, we have bad news on the Biggs Amendment. The floor vote has failed because an even split failed to pass it. Failed to pass the requirement for a warrant to spy on Americans. 86 spineless Republicans, rhino establishment Republicans, voted against the amendment. They joined forces with 128 Democrats to defeat a measure that would have required the FBI to get a warrant to backdoor spy on all American citizens. Now, 19 Republicans did have earlier a real moment of character. They voted down a rule that would have brought the so-called FISA reform bill to the floor yesterday. They blocked it. And as you know now, their win was short-lived. Rhino Republican establishment Representative Tom McClintock, by the way, of California, threatened the noble 19 members of Congress with censure. I want you to remember that name, Tom McClintock, because he is a low-life sellout, and you should know exactly who he is and what he has done and his like, threatening the few principled representatives who fought the corrupt FBI, the Department of Justice, the intelligence agencies, and the Biden regime and the Marxist Dems themselves. By the way, the 19 Congress members who defied them all said to Tom McClintock, "Bring it on." And that was the right answer. What a cowardly cretin of a representative he is. Well, listen to Georgia Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene unleash a scathing rebuke to the worthless Republicans who want to rubber stamp, and did rubber stamp, another warrantless surveillance legislation without any meaningful reform.
The question today is, do you trust the government? We often hear the claim that it's for your safety. And anytime the government tells us it's for your safety, the American people really question what that means. The same intelligence community that spied on President Trump's campaign has been deeply invested in reauthorizing FISA. And the same intelligence community that wrote the letter lying, saying that the Hunter Biden's laptop is not real, deeply wants FISA reauthorized. These are also the same people in the intelligence community that abused FISA and spied on hundreds of thousands of Americans. And I would argue they will continue to do it. These are also the same people who oppose the FBI having to get a warrant before they can search Americans' data. Yet we have a clause in this bill today that protects members of Congress and notified before they can search members of Congress data. It's always the rules for thee, but not for me.
And it is important for everyone to remember, Congress has a cutout for themselves. They will not have to worry about being spied upon, so says the legislation. By the way, even with the legislation, with that authority, the deep state, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, all spied on the intelligence committees of both the Senate and the House. Think about that. And this was a Congress that decided under Mike Johnson, who is a coward beyond compare, to go ahead and give them the authority to do what they would have done anyway, spy on Americans, and including, by the way, they'll be spying on Congress too. Don't you doubt it for a minute. And in an important update, Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky said he, quote, managed the rule, which just passed, to force Congress to vote on the record for whether a warrant is needed to spy on American citizens. Massie went on to say, get a warrant. Well, they don't have to. And by the way, Congress has a cutout, so they don't have to, worry about anything. Well, they do really, because there's no way in the world that the FBI and the Department of Justice that have broken every law in the book, spying on a president, trying to overthrow a president, and now persecuting him in a 9th year, is going to worry about a little thing called the law. But at least there's the sense, perhaps, of some progress there. I leave it to you to judge. I don't see it, but perhaps others do. Turning now to the Marxist Dem Department of Justice, the DOJ convicted a great-grandmother for praying in the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. You heard me right. She's been convicted of praying in the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. She is 71-year-old Rebecca Lavrance. She entered the Capitol through an open door at about 2:43 p.m. on January 6th. She spent a measured 10 minutes inside. And during that time, she talked with a Capitol police officer and prayed. For that, Lavrance, now think about this, was charged with 4 misdemeanors and faces up to a year in prison and more than $200,000 in fines, thanks to the Biden Marxist Dem Department of Justice and the ignorant, corrupt FBI as well. President Trump blasted this Marxist Dem deep state and this just beautiful thing we call the Biden regime. He wrote this in a Truth Social post, quote, Rebecca is a 72-year-old grandmother, small business owner from Colorado, and now she is one of Joe Biden's J6 hostages. Crooked Joe Biden spends more time prosecuting patriots like Rebecca and me than violent criminals, thugs, murderers, illegal immigrants who are destroying our country. Rebecca Labyrinth, also known as the J6 praying grandma, is our guest this evening, and we are delighted, Rebecca, to have you as our guest here. Thanks for joining us. And I'd like to begin with how are you holding up under the sentencing and all of the persecution by this disgusting Department of Justice and FBI?
Well, actually, Lou, first of all, thank you. I am delighted to be on this call with another courageous man that's willing to stand up against things that are rightfully wrong, wrongfully wrong, really wrong. But as far as how I'm holding up, I am actually very joyful.
Thank you.
Because I am joyful about this opportunity that I believe God has presented to me to stand up for my country. And actually, I'm not sentenced. I won't be sentenced until August 12th is when my sentencing. But I went to the Capitol on January 26th, drove 25 hours because as a born again believer, came to know Jesus and as a teenager 55 years ago. And when I did that, I accepted the man who said he was the way, the truth, and the life. And I spent 55 years getting to know, that's my mission in life, knowing God and knowing his son, Jesus. And if he's all about truth, you can understand that I am very upset. When things aren't truthful, I get really upset. So when I knew that there was something wrong with that 2020 election, I decided after my son asked if I was going, he said, I think you ought to pray about going. So I did, drove 25 hours. And basically what you just said, Lou, when you said a Marxist agenda, when I got there, my main focus was to pray for our nation, to stand up for my First Amendment rights, go into that Capitol building if the doors open. That's what I told my daughter. And I texted her on the phone. She was still home in Colorado managing a business. And I said, if those doors open, I feel like I'm supposed to carry God's presence in there. And so that's what I did. The doors opened. I don't know how the barriers came down, but they came down, walked into that Capitol. And just like you, Lou, when I got in there, I just felt like I was at a divine moment in time. And all I could think about was my youngest grandchildren. At that time, they were 7, 5, and 3. And I just said, I will not let my country go down to a Marxist ideology, not on my watch. I didn't shout, didn't do anything, walked through that Capitol building that belongs to us, we the people, and just carried my presence. Didn't say a word, shout, jump, or anything. Just wore a couple little squiggly things on my head because I'm patriotic. I love God and I love my country and I like to enjoy life. And walked out and thought, after I got out, I thought I had done what God told me to do. And when I got that verdict just a week ago, actually yesterday, after over 25 hours of deliberation by a jury, they convicted me of guilt on all 4 counts. And number 1 was entering and remaining in a restricted building, disorderly and disruptive conduct in a restricted building, disorderly and disruptive conduct in a Capitol building, and picketing, parading, and demonstrating in a Capitol building. And initially I was shocked because I always believe going into a battle, even if you're the underdog, you do have a fighting chance. And so I thought, I had thousands of people praying for me. I could get the first acquittal in a DC jury. My attorneys even said that. After 25 hours of deliberation, I thought there might be a fighting chance. But then when I got so I was actually shocked, Lou, when I got that verdict. But then within 30 seconds, I realized, wow, this is what God's opportunity is for me. He wants me to amplify my voice. If I would have got an acquittal, I'm sure that the story would have gone out. See, the justice system is fair in our country. But because I got a total guilty verdict, it is waking up so many people. And I knew instantly that God was going to amplify my voice. And obviously he has, if he's gotten me, your attention, President Trump's attention. We need to wake up the American people. We cannot be fearful any longer. We cannot be fearful. I have on my desk a picture of Thomas Jefferson. And on that, and the quote is, when governments fear the people, that's liberty. But if we fear the government, then that is tyranny. And when I gave my life to Jesus over 55 years ago, the thing I knew that my life was no longer my own. And if my life's not longer my own, then what do I have to be afraid of? And I didn't do that just to get a free ticket to heaven. I got that because I wanted to have a relationship with God. And because of that, I don't have fear of what the government can do to me. So I just,
well, I think you and
I'm here to wake the people up.
You
and
I
be
would
courageous.
agree that, right, absolutely. Be courageous. And by the way, not everyone has the capacity or the character to be as courageous as you. And we respect you so much for your stand, your position, your views, and your prayers, because this country needs praying over. And I truly believe that all Americans need to pray. And you have been a great leader, a great example. And I hope that the American people will be an example to you of what happens when they rise up as one voice and demand justice for you. And even this corrupt and vile and venal Marxist administration, particularly the Department of Justice under Merrick Garland, the fools and the knaves who are prosecutors in that DOJ that is corrupt as anything we could have ever imagined, will actually find shame and do the right thing for you and for all of the J6 prisoners of this Marxist ideology. It's a horrific moment in our history, and one which it's going to take a lot of explaining, if ever, to make our children understand just how difficult it was for the country and for all who were victims of this regime. You get the last word, and we appreciate you being with us here, Rebecca. Thank you for the example you've set.
Thank you very much. And I guess the bottom line is our country was founded and had a covenant with God from the 1620 Mayflower Compact that this country would be a godly country, give glory to God, and advance the Christian faith. And we need to get back to that foundation and make America godly again. That's my new mantra. The MAGA movement, make America godly. And there's a favorite verse I have in that I refer to in Proverbs 28:5. It says, evil men do not understand justice, but those who crave and seek the Lord understand it fully. And I think we need to raise up the body of believers here in the United States that truly are looking to Jesus. Then we can understand justice, and then it will be restored to a godly nation, and we'll have our freedoms. So I am a repairer of the breach. I didn't break the breach. I'm repairing the breach.
Rebecca, we thank you very much for being with us, and thank you for those words. Rebecca Labrant's sentence by a jury after 25 hours of deliberation, 4 misdemeanors that could cost her a year of her life. Evil is this Biden regime, this puppet president, corrupt, compromised, and the low-life, corrupt FBI and DOJ that would defile the very idea of justice. Rebecca, thanks for being with us, and God bless you. Thank you. Coming up, Biden is defying the Supreme Court, destroying law and order to buy votes, and again, trying to buy off young voters with taxpayer money. Par for the course, isn't it? That's straight ahead. Stay with us.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Welcome back. Tough times these, and President Joe Biden is once again trying to intimidate judges and justices to overpower the rule of law and do exactly as he pleases as a Marxist puppet, but a Marxist. Biden is canceling more than $7 billion of student loan debt for more than 277,000 borrowers in more than 40 states, despite the Supreme Court having struck down his student loan jubilee last June. He's defying the Supreme Court. He knows his reelection bid is all but gone, and he needs to buy votes by any means possible. And that's what this is, a massive vote-buying scheme for a candidate who is absolutely losing and has really no chance of recovery. Polls show young Americans have shifted from Biden to President Trump. So Biden had his Department of Education circumvent the Supreme Court in a bid to buy those voters back. Biden's remarks make it clear this is just another campaign stunt for his benefit.
Tens of millions of people's debt was literally about to get canceled. But then some of my Republican friends and elected officials and special interests sued us, and the Supreme Court blocked us. But that didn't stop us. No, I mean it sincerely. We continue to find alternatives paths to reduce student debt payments.
Is he pathetic? I mean, unbelievable. He's incapable of expression. He's incapable of comprehension. He does exactly what he's told, tries to stay on the script, and generally fails. We've never seen any president so corrupt as this. A ruthless, authoritarian regime personified by Special Counsel Jack Smith. And like Biden, Smith could care less what the law says or what the Supreme Court orders. Smith has indicated that if the court reverses a statute that is the basis for 2 of the 4 charges he filed against President Trump, Smith says he will simply ignore the high court decision. This same statute has been abused to charge more than 300 January 6 defendants as well, to charge them with obstructing an official proceeding. Can you imagine anything worse than that? It happens all of the time in all sorts of jurisdictions, whether local, state, or even federal. Depending on how the high court does rule, those people could have their lives back, those 300, or at least they could have a shot at a fair trial. I'll take either right now, but freedom they deserve. But Smith is preemptively building a case to make those charges stick to Trump in any event. Wouldn't you know it? This man is nothing more. I call him a junkyard jackal because that's all he is. He is nothing more than a legal hitman. He's claiming the charges are ironclad against Trump because he supported the alternative electoral certificates submitted to Congress after the 2020 election. Of course, President Trump did not sign those documents, did not have anything or do anything illegal. Smith, however, has one job and one job only, and that is to prevent Donald Trump from rightfully taking back the White House come November 5th. Get Trump, says Jack Smith, by any means necessary or possible. The list of Democrat enemies is growing all the time. The Federalist Society co-chairman, Leonard Leo, is their latest target. Members of the Democrat Senate Judiciary Committee launched a weaponized ethics probe against Leo. Now, that thing is run by Dick Durbin, and he is not exactly an exemplar when it comes to integrity. A key legal ally, Leo, to conservatives, he has been absolutely a leader on the judiciary and a great American. They subpoenaed, by the way, at the Senate Judiciary Committee, they subpoenaed Leo, trying to turn his life inside out, upside down. They were trying to send a message that this is what happens when you work with Republicans. But Senate Judiciary Republicans said they won't abide by what is obviously another witch hunt. Leo's attorney also defying that subpoena, and the Republicans on the committee are backing their decision. It's about time Republicans grew a spine or two, and perhaps this was a hopeful beginning. Joining us now is Chris Farrell. Chris is the Director of Investigations and Research for Judicial Watch. I consider it one of the most important watchdog organizations fighting the Biden administration full time, all the time. First of all, Chris, welcome here to the show, and it's great to have you here. I want to just turn to where in the world is this going after Leonard Leo, because they want to, as it seems, get to Justice Thomas. You're thinking.
They're terrified of Leonard Leo because of his effectiveness. He's a brilliant guy, and he's really exercised some strategic thinking and really motivated people on the right to put forward excellent nominees for Supreme Court justice for those positions. And they can't stand an effective conservative, so they're going to demonize him. And someone like Dick Durbin, who isn't fit to shine Leonard Leo's shoes, is going to pretend to be summoning him to appear before the Senate Judiciary Committee. I don't think, Dick Durbin may have notes written for him as to what to say and what to ask, but he doesn't possess the intellect to even compare in any kind of colloquy back and forth with Leonard Leo.
Well, as I look at this situation right now in Washington, D.C., there's bedlam. The Senate is a joke. By the way, both parties are absolutely flailing. There seems to be no focus and no real fight on the part of the Republicans, and the Democrats just simply keep averting their eyes from the criminality of both the deep state and the Biden regime. I don't know where we're headed, but you've got a president now flaunting the Supreme Court order to stand down in its efforts to simply forgive debt for hundreds of thousands of students without any authority. Where do you think that ends up?
Well, there's already 11 states that are ready to challenge and sue over this matter, just as there were the first go-around when Biden attempted this and the Supreme Court shut it down. The other point of this is that, look, he's committing funds, right? He's doing the work of the House. The House controls appropriations and funding. Who is he to write off this debt? Someone's going to pay for it. And in the end, It ends up being the federal government, at least in theory. So not only is he violating a Supreme Court order on the matter, but he's also taken upon himself in a dictatorial fashion to decide to commit all those funds that are under the control and purview of the House. So he's really acting like a little tin pot dictator in an effort to buy votes. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing lower. He's disgracing himself and he's abusing the Constitution.
He has disgraced himself if these were times, almost any other time than this. He has, as you say, without authority, without the power or support, simply stripped away 2,000 miles of border, turned it over to the Mexican drug cartels without even really a peep from the Republican Party. They occasionally wail about it, but they've done absolutely nothing about it. They've thought of nothing serious they can do with the legal system. They have thought of nothing serious that they could do to respond with their powers to actually establish a sovereign, protected border and to actually once again take on the Mexican drug cartels. Neither party has the guts for that, obviously, and particularly the Biden administration and the Marxist Dems, because they're in partnership with the Mexican drug cartels, and they're making a pretty penny while they do it.
This is where Speaker Johnson has failed utterly. You know, this last $1.2 trillion expenditure that went through, if there was ever a time to make a stand and to make a point, it would be to fulfill their basic fundamental duty of securing the United States. And they failed. They didn't do it. So instead, you got sort of this lukewarm lukewarm Speaker Pelosi budget that went through. They control the purse strings, right? So if there was ever a time to dig your heels in and say, look, this border fiasco, it's over. We're not going to fund anything, period, until you fix the border. But they're afraid to do it. They're not willing to even engage on the topic. Instead, it's all happy talk and, sort of these demonstrations at Kabuki Theater. And, another 120,000 Americans will die from fentanyl.
Yeah. So, and by the way, we're approaching in Joe Biden's time in office. It's an illegitimate presidency, without question. But nonetheless, he has still managed to be responsible for the deaths of almost 500,000 Americans because of fentanyl and other deadly drug overdoses. He has managed to turn over to the Mexican drug cartels 2,000 miles of border, seemingly without any significant protest at all from the right, certainly not from corporate America, which seems thrilled to have 15 million illegal aliens in the country in the course of those 3 years for cheap labor and for cheap votes for the Marxist Dem party. I mean, is there any line whatsoever that Joe Biden, the Marxist Dems, and the deep state can't cross? Is there any that they can't cross? Because I don't see any consequence for them. I see no response to them. And no way in which to set up a response that is punitive for what is outright totalitarianism.
The straight answer to your question is no. There's nothing. There's no red line. There's no pain threshold that they're not willing to exercise or cross or go over or use or manipulate. There's no limit. And that's a very sad, very scary thing to come to grips with and to admit. But that's what we have to be very frank about. We have to be able to say that and acknowledge it. Otherwise, we're still, whistling past the graveyard, hoping for a better day. Well, hope is not a strategy, right? We need action, and we need guts, and we need people to take a stand on things and not just, issue sharply worded tweets or posts on X or whatever. It actually requires somebody.
You can't.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Chris, you really. I know. I was just going to say you really can't even get a sharply worded letter out of these folks anymore. It used to be that that was the response, but they can't conjure up the courage to even say you SOB. You're not going to do it again. We're not going to put up with it. There would be, in other times, I would have said to you 30 years ago, if this were the circumstance, you know what? People are playing with an outright open warfare in the streets if they were to do this, to block legitimate government, to render our courts nothing more than utterly show trial, Stalinist show trials. There isn't a fair trial that can be had in the country. Not one. Not in any blue state. Not in any federal court that I know of, and not the Supreme Court.
And look at the ridiculous, idiotic patty cake games the Republicans are playing with the Mayorkas impeachment, right? The House impeached him how many weeks ago?
It's pitiful.
And now they're tentatively thinking about maybe sending the articles over for the Senate. Please, this guy, he's been criminally negligent in the fulfillment of his duties. He's endangered the American public, and they're afraid to, well, maybe we shouldn't do anything right now, and we'll talk about it later. It's pathetic.
It is pathetic. And as you know, I think agreed here tonight, the Republican Party isn't going to be the answer until President Trump has active authorized leadership. His leadership is all that the Republican Party has now. If he weren't telling them what to do and how to stand up against them, the Republican Party would be drifting off into the dustbin of history. It may well still occur, but Donald Trump gives them and the country a chance. And by the way, I truly believe this, Chris, and I'm going to ask you for your concluding thoughts, but I truly believe that Donald Trump is the country's last and best and only hope.
He's the only guy with a vision, and he's able to articulate it in a very straightforward, common sense way. And he's got a proven track record for 4 years. The left may hate him, but frankly, that's one of his greatest, attributes. One of his greatest achievements is how he has motivated and made the left go out of their minds, because he has real solutions that work, and he has a track record and a vision, and he speaks plainly. And it's not the double talk nonsense you hear Biden prattling on with. And it's actually what it says it is. It's an America First agenda. And you have a very clear, very stark choice coming up in the next election. You can choose what you've been having for the last 3 years, or there's a very different alternative.
Yeah, I do want to say this. I think that this is far more than Trump derangement syndrome, and I think that we make a mistake if we say that he drives the left crazy or the Marxist, because we really need to be very clear. When we look at the perversity of the Marxist Dems and the left, the immoral left in this country, when we look at who they are and what they are doing, whether it's their mob violence on the streets, or whether it is their rejection of law and the concept of justice, and they're turning their backs on God, I think we have to understand the Marxist Dems are certainly, they are Marxist, but they are also godless, and they are also anti-Christian. By the way, they're also anti-Jewish, we find out. Anti-Jewish, anti-Christian. The foundation of our nation's culture, its heritage, is Judeo-Christian, and they are rejecting anything in that heritage.
They are militant ideologues who, in the end, seek the destruction of Western civilization. That's literally what they are.
Yeah, without question. Chris, thanks for being with us. Chris Farrell, Judicial Watch, and thanks, as always, for what you and Judicial Watch do for the country. Thank you. Good to have you here, Chris.
Thanks, Lou. Good to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks. Turning now to a new Axios IPES poll. 42% of Latino voters say that they support building a wall along the southern border. It also found that 38% support deporting every last illegal alien who's entered the country under the Joe Biden regime. It's quite a remarkable display how much this administration, the degrees to which it's gone to deny the will of the American people. And before we go to break, MyPillow is excited to announce we're having a huge spring sale. Right here are a few examples. Buy one MyPillow 2.0, get another one absolutely free. Think about that. These pillows are made with cooling technology that means the best pillow just got even better. And this just in, 9 brand new colors and styles of their percale bed sheets. They're made with the finest long staple cotton, and now you can save 50% or more. That's as low as $24.98 a set. $24.98 a set. And for the first time this year, the My Slippers and sandals as low as $25 a pair. Go to mypillow.com, use promo code Dobbs, or call 800-977-9152 to get the MyPillow 2.0. Buy one, get one free, or the percale sheets for as low as $24.98, and my slippers and sandals for as low as $25 a pair. And for a limited time, when you order $75 or more, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com and use that all-important promo code DOBBS, D-O-B-B-S. Thank you. Coming up, Democrats can't run on Biden's record, so they're hanging all of their hopes on, well, being crooks and thieves and placing abortion in the spotlight, which has just been taken away from them because President Trump is smarter than all of them put together. That's straight ahead. And join us every day for our podcast, The Great America Show, available at LouDobbs.com, wherever you get your podcasts. There, The Great America Show will be. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Welcome back. Arizona continues to be at the forefront of the national debate over abortion after the state's Supreme Court ruled that a 19th century law would take effect. That law bans all abortions in the state of Arizona, no exceptions. The state's Attorney General, Chris Mays, says she will refuse to prosecute any Arizonan who violates the law. Think about the number of Marxist Dems who are refusing to, well, enforce the law. Here she is.
It is one of the worst decisions in the history of the Arizona Supreme Court, if not the worst. This is far from the end of the debate on reproductive freedom, and I look forward to the people of Arizona having their say in the matter. And let me be completely clear. As long as I am Attorney General of the state of Arizona, no woman or doctor will be prosecuted under this draconian law.
And let me be clear. Any Attorney General, any state Attorney General who refuses to enforce the law is, in my opinion, an Attorney General who needs to have the courage and the principle to resign. And if not, to be absolutely removed from office. Let me be clear, as the Attorney General put it. Well, turning now to the issue of school safety, lawmakers in Tennessee have just passed a bill that would require gun safety courses in public schools. The bill requiring public schools to teach, quote, age-appropriate and grade-appropriate safety courses to students. Meanwhile, earlier this week, we told you about a CIA officer named Gavin O'Blennis. O'Blennis was caught on video making a stunning admission about the federal government's involvement on January 6th. Watch this.
The Bureau didn't really want people knowing that they were in the crowd. Because that would be overstepping their bounds.
A little bit.
Do people know that?
Why?
Did people know that the Bureau was in the crowd?
Nope, and probably never will.
O'Blennis admitting there were as many as 20 FBI agents in the crowd watching over the whole process and perhaps encouraging certain behavior. Here he is.
You can kind of put anyone in jail if you know what to do.
How?
You set them up. You create the situation to where they have no choice but to act on their impulse. And once they act on that impulse, then we call that entrapment. It's a fine line.
Does the Bureau practice entrapment a lot?
We get really close.
Not officially?
No. We get as close as we can. We get as close as we can to it without doing it.
So they can entrap some of these pro-lifers into doing things that they don't...
Depending, yeah. We call it a nudge.
And incredibly, that's not all that O'Blinis admitted. Before working as a CIA officer, O'Blinis, he said, was processing asylum claims at Homeland Security. Now that is quite a career leap. Asylum claims, CIA. Well, listen to O'Blinis make the stunning admission.
I did what they call the credible fear interviews for like people who seek asylum.
Okay.
So basically, you're coming in saying, I need asylum, and I have to interview you to make sure you hit the criteria. Like, are you persecuted against because of your religion, you know, the tribe you're from, or stuff like that? You know, is there fear of rape? Is there fear of human trafficking? That kind of stuff. So I had to sit on these interviews, and I'm like, you know, your story's really sad, but you don't know.
Right. Oh, that's difficult.
Yeah.
How many people did you have to do that?
I did that for like 3,000 people.
Out of how many?
Out of however many were coming. Like, I was there for 2 months.
So that many people didn't qualify?
Oh, yeah.
So it's true that they're kind of just utilizing the system?
Yeah. Oh. Most of the people get there knowing they're not going to qualify, but they try. Because, you know, if you do it enough times, you get a sympathetic ear, and they're like, approved.
And quite a remarkable admission, quite remarkable. I can't think of a CIA, an active CIA agent, officer, ever getting this much television attention. But we're certainly glad to provide the opportunity for it. Thank you all. And coming up, an Afghan national on the terrorist watch list just caught in the U.S. after spending a year in our country, absolutely undetected. How many more like that are there? Do we really want to know? We'll have the story next. Stay with us.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Welcome back. And the Marxist Dems, the Biden regime, trying to play cute, are going to the Mexican government, hoping that they could work out a deal where people wouldn't notice how many people are coming across the border. Maybe the Mexican government could hold back a few of those illegal aliens. But if Democrats thought they could simply ignore the border crisis and there would be no consequences to them for allowing millions of illegal aliens to flood the country over the past 3 years, well, they were profoundly wrong, and it's becoming clearer by the day. That's because the Marxist Dem-run city of Denver, Colorado, is planning to defund its police department. And you're saying, why would they do that? Well, they would do that because they need to pay for their illegal aliens. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that what you would expect of a progressive city like Denver, a screwball city like Denver? Screwball Mayor Johnson says he's cutting about $8 million from the police budget and about $2.5 million from the fire department. That's about $11 million right there. to make room in the budget to pay for those well, they're not uninvited illegal aliens. They were invited by Biden, Mayorkas, corporate America, Wall Street, but here they are nonetheless. But none of the citizens wanted them here. Now this, a man on the terrorist watch list just released by the Biden Border Patrol. The Marxist-Dem border is wide open, and wow, what a party they're having down there. According to a Department of Homeland Security report, Mohammed Karwan, you knew it had to go that way, was freed on bond as he awaited an immigration hearing in Texas. And you can almost understand why he was somewhat impatient and just decided to bolt, because that hearing wouldn't have occurred for, well, another year. It's scheduled for 2025. Joining us now to talk about the Mexican drug cartel's border, Thad Cleveland, Sheriff of Terrell County, Texas, retired Border Patrol agent and great American. Sheriff, it is great to have you with us. When I hear a story like Muhammad here getting a little impatient because he had to wait a year to get an immigration hearing, I think that the Marxist Dems in Washington, D.C. have lost their minds. The people who are running the permanent bureaucracy, including the Department of Homeland Security, have just gone bat crazy. You're thinking.
Hey, Lou, thanks for having me back. And I tell you, just when we think it can't get any worse, it continues to get worse. It continues to get, I hate to say it, almost more comical at times, when we see the president on Univision in his latest interview, not just his inability to really put together a full sentence, but when he talks about his inability to have an executive order to solve what's going on. Couldn't be more further from the truth. I assure you that.
Isn't it something? And by the way, I am not one of those people who blames anyone for laughing at what is the absurd. That is nature working. We laugh at absurdity. What could be more absurd than this idiot in the White House who pretends to be president? He is obviously cognitively impaired. He is barely physically able to find his way. Well, I guess that involves cognitive issues as well as physical. The man is lost, and he thinks he is this big bad boss of the Marxist Dems, and he is nothing but a puppet, doing exactly what the Obama Marxist Dem cartel is telling him to do, guiding him to do. And then you look at his administration. I mean, what in the world? Mayorkas, for example, the Secretary of Education, who can't tell you whether or not there is a difference between a man and a woman. An administration that is just, in my opinion, they couldn't pass much of a sanity test whatsoever. So I don't blame you for laughing. I mean, I have to laugh at some of this because laughter is at least a release, to keep you connected to a reality. It's a reality that's irrelevant to Washington, D.C., but it is a reality, right?
Hey, and when you hit on Mayorkas, look, he's gone from saying he inherited this problem to saying he needs legislation, to saying that you need more money at the border. It just continues to go from excuse to excuse. And I can tell you from personal experience that they can do the same thing that President Trump did with the Migrant Protection Protocol, the MPP, the Remain in Mexico. And in addition to that, what they can do is do what President Trump did as well when he held Mexico's feet to the fire. Look what AMLO's been doing here in recent interviews. He's actually mocking America. But look, when President Trump told him either you start helping us along the border, or we're going to increase tariffs on your goods, and we're their number one trading partners. What did they do? For the first time ever, we saw the government of Mexico on its northern borders with the United States patrolling. In addition, we also saw them on their southern border with Guatemala patrolling that portion of the border. It's only about 160 miles wide. I tell you, again, if Americans are going to believe what they're hearing out of this administration, they're being lied to, and they need to know.
Yeah, I personally, looking at poll after poll, Latinos, blacks are going to Trump, and they're going in big numbers. We're talking about more than twice the support that he had in 2020 It's huge among minority voters. You look at young people, they're going to Trump. They're looking at this idiot of an old man sitting there in that White House without any clue what's going on, and he's just doing what he's told by whomever it is that's doing the telling. Take your pick. Is it Obama? Is it Susan Rice? Is it Valerie Jarrett? Who is it? It almost doesn't matter because they are nothing more than functionaries, and they're complete fools when it comes to a foreign policy. They attack our ally, Israel. They will not in any way try to negotiate a peace between Russia and Ukraine. They'd rather see those bodies stack up. I mean, that is Biden foreign policy. Kill them all is his view. And by the way, if we can get into World War III, wouldn't that be boffo, he says. The ignorance, the palatable stupidity of these people that inhabit that entire administration is visible to all Americans. And you can't tell me that a number somewhere approaching 75% of all Americans don't see that absurdity and that sickening, sickening evil that is the Biden administration.
And look, Lou, you know, America's supposed to be that light in the world that everybody looks up to. Even our enemies look to see what we're doing and respect the light, if you will. But right now, you know, we don't have anybody respectable in the White House. And look, I was down in Eagle Pass when President Trump came to visit the soldiers of the state of Texas, as well as DPS there. And, you know, the streets were lined, not only in Del Rio, when we left the airport, but as we were driving all the way down to Eagle Pass and entering Eagle Pass. And these are primarily Hispanic communities. I mean, vastly Hispanic communities, a lot of support for them. But I want to touch on the point you made about, you know, World War III and things going on. Look, I was a veteran of the United States Air Force. I currently have a son serving in the Middle East. He'll be home at the end of this month. You know, I'm all for our country being that big brother out there in the world that puts down the bullies. But we have to take care of America first. We're not going to be any good if we can't take care of our own country, our own borders, and be prepared to lead the world.
I just pray that God lets us get through to November 5th, to January 20th of 2025 without conflict and without going to war or putting our young men and women in harm's way because of some fool in the White House and a bunch of idiots who think they're running national security and foreign policy. It is, you know, please God, protect those young men and women in this great nation until we can have a leader who could make it a fair fight if we must indeed fight. Sheriff, I just want to ask you as we wrap up here, is the situation better on your border or worse since we last talked?
Since we last talked, it's definitely gotten worse. And when I say worse, again, we don't have the asylum seekers. What we have here are people want to evade arrest, evade detection. So when we encounter them, they run. Matter of fact, this morning, my deputies who are actually Operation Lone Star deputies, Governor Abbott's funding, hired 2 of our deputies, which makes us a 5 total. They assisted Border Patrol last night with a group, and then they were assisting them with a group of 21 that were also apprehended this morning. So we're at that peak time where we're going to continue to see more people crossing. And as we enter this, as you mentioned, this election year, you know, we're going to start having more people wanting to get here because they're going to believe that when President Trump wins, that the border is going to be shut down. So we're going to see more people want to get in.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness Texas is trying, and we appreciate everything that you and Governor Abbott and all of Texas is doing on that border, trying to stave off what is clearly an invasion of illegal aliens at the behest of the fool in the White House. Inexcusable, unforgivable. Sheriff, we appreciate you being with us. Thanks so much.
Lou, thank you. God bless.
Before we go, God bless you. Appreciate it, Sheriff. Before we go, I want to say all of you out there know Mike Lindell and MyPillow no longer having the support of those box stores or shopping channels the way they used to, so they're going a different direction. They've experienced the cancel culture, so now MyPillow wants to pass the savings directly on to you. They're having a $25 extravaganza. When Mike started MyPillow, as you know, it was a problem product solution, and just one solution at that. Well, since then, with the help of his dedicated employees, they now have hundreds of products, and some of you may not even know about all of them, maybe even most of them. To get the word out, they're having a $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, just $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And their 6-pack towel sets, $25. Brand new 4-pack dish towels, just $25. And for the first time ever, those premium MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size, just $25. The amazing offer won't last long, so please order now. Just go to mypillow.com or call 800-977-9152 and use promo code Dobbs. That's a very important promo code, folks. Believe me, trust me. Dobbs, promo code Dobbs, D-O-B-B-S. And get your MyPillow products today. You'll love them. And join us every day on my podcast, The Great America Show, available at LouDobbs.com, wherever you get your podcasts. We thank you for being with us this evening, and we ask you to join us Monday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central, and the Lindell Report is coming up next. Please stand by for Mike Lindell. Good night, and God bless.